Welcome to our WNBA block of this week's Women's Sports Update. I'm Cadence Kilhoff alongside Alex Magruder, and we're here to talk all things WNBA Finals on and off the court. Alex, I want to go backwards and start with finals. The Mercury and the Aces going up against each other. The Aces have won the first two matchups, 3 points in Game 1 and 13 points in Game 2.
I mean, you're right, Cadence. This has been a heck of a series for the Aces, right? You mentioned they barely squeaked by in that first game, 89-86 your final score. But then finally, after a playoffs full of single-digit wins, close games, they finally expanded, right, and win by 13. And the one thing I've noticed that's not so good for the Mercury and why they're possibly losing these games is the turnovers, right? Each of those two games, 14, right? And they also have to get the ball into Alyssa Thomas's hands more. She put up basically a triple-double in Game 1, but only 10 points in Game 2. They got to improve on that.
So you're focusing on the negatives here, but I want to look into the positives. Jackie Young popping off in Game 2. Now, in Game 1, she actually asked head coach Becky Hammond to sub her out earlier in the game. She was wiped out from carrying her team into the semis anyway. Saturday, she missed practice, spent the whole day just rehabbing for Sunday's game. But when Sunday's game came around, she became the first Aces player in franchise history to have a 30-point game in the finals. And
what a performance it was. What a bounce back. I mean, like you said, finishes with 32 points and 8 rebounds. But get this, 21 points in the third quarter. That's a WNBA Finals record, Cadence.
Wow, and even on top of that, Asia Wilson putting up the finals game career high, 28 points and 14 boards. Wilson and Young's combined 60 points was the second most by a duo in WNBA history. But the Aces relocate to Phoenix for Game 3 of finals, and we both know that Phoenix will give it all. They don't want to lose in a sweep, and it is a home court advantage, so we'll see how that goes. Now on to the semifinals. The Lynx falling to the Mercury and the Aces defeating the Fever. Napheesa Collier having such a good season, an MVP frontrunner. She averaged almost 23 points per game, over 7 rebounds, and over 3 assists. In the postseason, she averaged over 20 points per game and almost 7 boards. But during the end of the series, Fee sustained a grade 2 tear of 3 ligaments in her ankle and tearing a muscle in her shin when she collided with Mercury's Alyssa Thomas. Obviously, losing such a crucial player for the Lynx did not end well for them. They ended up getting eliminated, but although Napheesa isn't on the court right now, she's still making such a big impact on the WNBA. She made a statement about Commissioner Kathy Engelbert not supporting the players' concerns and needs for equal pay.
Well, Cadence, you mentioned it, and I kind of want to take this back, right? After Game 3, Scottsdale, Arizona, the team hotel, right? Collier went down with the injury. She goes back to her hotel room and sits down to write this 4.5-minute statement. But little did she know, this would shock the entire sports world. And this goes back to February when Collier and WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, they sat down, they had a meeting, right? Collier wanted to discuss the current state of the WNBA officiating, as well as why the league's biggest players, the ones that are bringing the most revenue, that's not being represented in their contracts, right? Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, Angel Reese, they brought the W unprecedented growth, right? But yet they're still not being shown that in their paychecks. And it's interesting, I mean, Kathy Engelbert, she's entering the 6th year as WNBA commissioner. And like I said, she's brought the league unprecedented success, but yet she's finally starting to lose the trust of the players. That's a big issue.
I mean, Fee even said that Collier told her that players should be down on their knees thanking their lucky stars for what she and the league has done for them. And like you said, she did also make separate remarks about Caitlin Clark and that she would be nothing without Kathy by her side. Obviously, Kathy denies these claims, and she continues to reiterate her commitment to the league, but players like Caitlin, Sophie Cunningham, Angel Reese, the stud buds, they're just not for it. And women's sports have come such a long way, so Fee's willingness to speak up about this subject that matters so much means a lot to the league. I want to leave with this comment, though. WNBA players receive less than 10% of the league's revenue. Meanwhile, the NBA players receive 50%. On to a little bit more of a sad subject, Alex. First round exits. The reigning champs, the New York Liberty, falling in round 1. For New York Liberty fans, they're pretty upset about that, but they're probably more upset that head coach Sandy Brondello was just let go from the team.
Yes, and Cadence, this was a huge shocker. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen it in the league where a player wins your franchise's first championship ever, And yet the year after a down year, you get out in the first round, you're gone, just like that. It's interesting. I mean, GM Jonathan Kolb said that this decision was rooted in being proactive, right? That this wasn't just a reactionary thing based off the early exit, but this was something long in the books, right?
Yeah, I mean, he did say that this decision goes well beyond just the 2025 season, but players like Brianna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, they back up Sandy Brondello. And after this season, Sab, Stewie, and Jonquil Jones are all going to be free agents. Kolb says that he still supports the decisions that they will make, but he is pretty positive that they're going to stay with the team. So we're going to have to see how that goes. But I want to speak on the injuries that happened this season. JJ was out for a while. Stewie was out for around 5 weeks. Niara Sabali, they were all out for a really long time.
That's right. They were out, and because of that, they kind of had to go to free agency and bring in some help. And you know who they did? They brought in Emma Meesman. It was her first WNBA appearance since 2022. She took a couple years off, but I mean, if you're looking for help in that anchor position, right, the center, Meesman's a pretty good option. I mean, she's a 2-time Eurobasket MVP winner. She just helped lead her team to a FIBA Eurobasket championship, right? And she puts up good numbers, 17 games played, 13 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. But yet it didn't really help with those injuries. There still seemed to be a lack of offensive inefficiency. And I think that's kind of what led to the firing from Brondello. I think that what Kolb saw that, we have this talent, right? Even with injuries, we still have this talent, but yet our team isn't producing offensively. I think he was, looking towards a different direction.
You're right, Alex. Emma Meesman and Stephanie Talbot was also coming onto the team. She was waived by the Valkyries before being picked up by New York Liberty. She did okay this season, but I really want to focus on Emma Meesman. She did take a few years off of the WNBA due to mental health reasons. She won MVP a few years back, though, and she had quite an outing for the team, especially when Sabrina Ionescu, the point guard, someone that New York relies on to do well, isn't doing well. I mean, to me, Sab is that kind of player that could either drop over 20 points a game or she's scoring less than 5. And when Sab is not on, Alex, the team is not on.
It certainly isn't.
No, not at all. Well, that's all we have for you today in this segment of Women's Sports Update. Now we're going to toss it over to Jocelyn and Jason to talk all things SU Volleyball.
Thank you so much, guys. But here we're going to be talking SU Volleyball. I'm Jocelyn Mejia with Jason Cespedes, and let's just get right into this Sunday's recap. SU played Virginia, and this was definitely a tough matchup for the Orange. It went to a full 5-set match, and towards the end, I think they were done with the game. It was a 7-1, and then, they rallied a little bit, but at the end of the day, it was another ACC loss for Syracuse, and this wasn't their first. They also lost against Louisville, and that was a tough one for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the Cardinals serve really put SU on the back foot. They made the SU defense work, and it just never got the offense comfortable for SU. The usual weapons, Skylar George, Gabrielle McLaughlin could not get going against Louisville, and that caused them to lose that important ACC clash, and they haven't really picked up since then. We did see some promising signs, though, Jocelyn. In the first 6 games of the season, Niagara, Ryder, Lemoyne, amongst some of them. What did you think about that?
I think the first 6 games of the season were kind of essential just to get SU started, but I wouldn't necessarily say that this was a huge competition for Syracuse. I think that other teams that were playing in the ACC are going up against harder opponents in the beginning of the season. So while we had this 6-game win streak magic, it wasn't necessarily what SU needed in order to win against ACC opponents. There was a few problems, though, against Ryder in the Salt City Classic in the first invitational for SU. I mean, it was kind of just a matter of SU being a more versatile team, and I think that that's talent that they should show in other games, not just in these first 6 that they're winning. And they also had troubles against Colgate as well, I believe.
Yeah, they lost both at home and away against Colgate, and I think that was the biggest wake-up call for the program this season. They did regroup against Siena and St. John's, and they won their ACC opener against Notre Dame. So the DNA is there for Syracuse to do well along the season and in the ACC, but the main thing is seeing if they can be consistent against bigger, more experienced blockers in the middle, and that's going to really take them to the next step. And a couple of players are there, though. Skylar George, Gabby McLaughlin, what do you think?
I think that Gabrielle McLaughlin is essential to the Syracuse team. She's a great addition. I mean, she was coming in from Nevada and she stayed 3 years there and averaged over 900 kills. That is over about like 6 kills a game. It is a huge talent to have her on the SU team, but I think she needs players to work with her in order to get those wins for SU, because volleyball is not a lone star game. You can't win the game just by yourself. You can't win the game just off of kills. But she's doing great. She's on to her 10th double-double of the season, along with her having a career high 23 kills in just past game. So it's really impressive. I just think other players on SU definitely need to help her out. She has a few tools, though.
Yeah, Skylar George being one of them. She has been essential since last year when she joined the team as a freshman. She immediately became the glue, Jocelyn, and you can see that with their 248 kills so far in her tenure here at Syracuse. She's the second highest on the team, and she's only a sophomore. So if that doesn't tell you how essential she is to the team, I don't know what will. And she's going to be essential at continuing this against Virginia. We saw this against Virginia Tech as well. They took the game 3-1, and she was the first and the cleanest on the touch, getting that ball up to the setter and getting her kills, and helping along the lines of Gabby McLaughlin as well to get on the other end of that. So we see that they have some promising players, but is that going to be enough to beat Cal this Friday?
I think that Syracuse can get it done against Cal. While I don't think it'll be an easy game, I think it's going to be another 5-set game like Virginia. And Syracuse usually does well in 5-set games. I mean, when you look at St. John's, that was a really tough game for them, and they prevailed. When you look at Cornell as well, it was another tough game that they prevailed, and I think they can do the same against Cal. I think that Syracuse might be a little bit intimidated because it's an ACC opponent, but Syracuse lost against the same teams like Louisville, like Virginia Tech. So I think that Syracuse definitely has something to prove, and they could win this game, but it'll definitely be a 5-set matchup.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one for Syracuse. I think the main 3 things that they need to do is serve with a purpose, because we know that they're not the greatest at acing the other team, but if they can put the Cal defense to work, they can beat them. And the other thing is they're going to have to feed Gabrielle McLaughlin early in the game. If she can combine with Leia's sets, she's going to do great. And at the end, they need to stay concentrated, Jocelyn. They've seemed to be a little out of focus towards the end of games. So if they can stay concentrated, I could see it going 3-1 to Syracuse. They have the home crowd. They have the fact that Cal's going to have to travel across the country. How do you see this matchup going?
I agree. I think this matchup is definitely going to be a win for Syracuse. I think they have the potential and the tools. Coming together is the biggest component of this game. It's going to be a 5-set matchup, though, for sure.
For sure.
I think it's going to be down to the wire game, and SU is going to win in the women's building. Well, that's all we have here today, but we'll see you guys on the next Women's Sports Update.